Good evening. Today we are starting off with the second chapter, which is building on the concepts about project management. The first chapter was general reference to the context. It established your relationship with the organizational strategy, with the business value, with organizational governance, projects, programs, portfolios, operations. So we understood the connection between all these things. Now in this chapter what we are going to do is we are going to specifically talk about projects. We will no more talk about the programs, our portfolios. Yes, but naturally everything we'll be doing here, we will keep it aligned with the organizational strategy. And naturally, as I referred yesterday, we will have a project governance, and that would be under the umbrella of the organizational governance or whichever governance is on top of it. Like if this project is a part of a program, then program governance will help us formulate our project governance. If it is under a portfolio, portfolio governance will take its role. But we will be more concerned about the project now. So we will talk more about project governance, project stakeholders, organizational influences on project, and so on and so forth. So this chapter is dedicated to further concepts about the project. And here another important thing, apart from the organizational influences, we'll also be talking about a very important topic, and that is project life cycle. Basically, four topics are to be covered here. Number one is the organizational influences on the project management, as I said. Then project stakeholders and project governance. Then project teams. Naturally, the team members and whole of team of the project is definitely a part of the group of stakeholders, but these are the people who actually are performing. Therefore, we will discuss team separately as well. Then we'll talk about the project life cycle. In organizational influences, we'll talk about organizational culture and style, organizational communications, organizational structures, and in organizational structures, you will see how different types of organizational structures affect project management, like functional organizations, matrix organizations, and the projectized organization. Earlier, we did talk about a project-based organization. That was from the organizational concept. So reference was organizational. Here we are going to talk about various structures in vogue. Then I'll introduce you to two new concepts which you might not have heard before, that is organizational process assets and enterprise environmental factors. These two terms were introduced by PMI. They are not anywhere in English dictionary or anywhere, but they were introduced by PMI, and now it is commonly used everywhere. Even the standards which have come later from other organizations like IIBA, when they established their business analysis standard, they used these terms and almost the same format what PMBOK follows. And many other organizations have taken up these terms. Then we talk about the stakeholders and governance. In that we talk about project stakeholders, project governance, and project success. How you determine the project success. Finally, in project teams, we will talk about the project composition of the project teams, and ultimately project life cycle, the characteristics of the life cycle, and various phases of the project. Right. First, coming over to the organizational influences on project. You see, naturally, we do understand that a project will exist within an organization, and we have been debating that for quite some time. Projects are going to bring change in the organization. Therefore, the organizational governance structure, organizational mechanism, organizational rules and regulations, everything will be followed in the project. Because the working of the project is different from normal operations, they might have to do something completely new, which is not normal in the organization, which has never been done before. Therefore, there is a little bit of sentiment that probably project is something separate from the the organization. Project is not something completely separate from the organization. Yes, we can agree on that point that some projects are done under more than one organization. I would not say that a project is completely separate from the organization, but even if it is done under more than one organization, like a joint venture or something like that, then both the organizations try to impose their will and their rules and their principles onto the project, and somehow that has to be balanced. So do not ever imagine that project manager's role is something like independent. It is in more pressure if it is working under a joint venture, and otherwise also, even if it is working under an organization, then it has to follow that organizational rules. So this is not a separate word of its own. Within the organization, a lot many things uh, affect the project, and there are certain things which affect the project from outside of the organization, like the environment, the different stakeholders, even government policies, and so many other things which are not directly impacting you from the organizational point of view, but from outside of the organization. Those factors will be also impacting. So what we are going to be talking about are all those factors which can impact or affect projects. So projects, looking from inside organization, whatever the culture or style of the organization is, the way of working, how um, they define their work, how they perform their work, how efficient they are. So that is inherited to the project. Naturally, project manager is kind of more committed to the job assigned to him, and therefore he would like to bring more effectiveness and efficiency, even better than the organization, but the effects of the organization will always remain. So don't ever imagine that project can be revolutionarily different from what the organization temperament is. If our organization is lax, your project is going to be lax. Maybe a bit better than the organization, but still it will have impact of the organization. We'll talk about the culture and styles. Then whatever is the communication mechanism being used in the organization, naturally that will be somehow inherited to the project as well, and almost the same communication mechanism will impact. And if it is not effective, if it is not efficient, the project will not be effective and efficient. Naturally, project manager has to look at it and decide what kind of communication he actually requires to make the project successful. Then the structure, how the organization is structured. Normally, organizations are not meant for doing projects. Organizations are meant for you know doing the operations, to do their functions. So therefore, they are more committed towards their operational duties, functional role, and therefore, whole of the structure of the organization is organized around it. You know, finance department, HR department, production, and this and that. So this is a classical functional organization. Well, it is tailored to function according to SOPs. Now, if you have to do a project in such kind of organization, you definitely will have certain kinds of problems, because the bureaucracy of the organization will naturally try to create hindrances for the project. So we will see how we can improve the situation, or what other kind of structure could be existing or could be prompted, and ultimately we can make the environment more feasible for the project manager to handle his project. Then we have the terms of organization process assets and enterprise environmental factors. To be brief, I would just say organizational process assets are all the rules, regulations, policies, procedures, templates, formats, historical data, lessons learned, all such documentary items for that matter, originating from within the organization. They are of great help to the project. They are always used as an input for almost every process we do in project management. So these documents are really important to us. I'm not talking about the governance. Governance can make it a rule that you must use this document. Here, when I'm talking about organizational process assets, I'm giving you an option. I I put a tray here of knowledge in front of you, documents in front of you, and you can make use of it. This is an option for the project manager. But organizational governance gives you the specific command that this rule has to be followed. So governance may refer to certain documents from the organizational process asset to be strictly followed in the project. So there is a slight difference between organizational governance and the organizational process assets. Process assets are optional but are used in the project wherever required, and those documents are those factors which are mandated. They are due to the organizational governance. And naturally, organizational governance is made up of the organizational culture and style also. Then are the enterprise environmental factors. Generally, these are all the internal and external factors which are impacting the project. They are essentially not documents. They are just the factors. Like the climate is a factor. If it is raining, you can't do certain things. So this is a factor impacting the project, but this is not a document. This is not a rule. This is not a law. So this is something will impact your project. So this could be internal or external. Internal factors, you always can refer back to the culture and style. Culture and style, communication structures, all these things are internal factors impacting the project, and they are part of enterprise environmental factors. On the other hand, as I said, the rules, regulations, policies, procedures, formats, templates, lessons learned, historical data, and things to that effect, they all are included in organizational processes. So essentially, I can say OPA's, organization process assets, are almost always documented, whereas enterprise environmental factors are not essentially documents. They are the factors, internal or external. Isha Khan, you are with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm listening to the audio only because I'm driving, sir. I'm still not at home, so I can listen to your audio, sir. But I haven't accessed slides.
If you can listen to us, that is very fine. So whenever.
Yes, sir. I can listen.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay,
Okay, sir.
now getting into a little thick of it, organization influences, organization culture, style, and structure. These are the three things we did say that they are going to impact. Now, this all depends upon what kind of organization you are living in. Does that organization know anything about project management? How have they developed any systems about doing the projects? Or do they have any level of maturity achieved so far? So essentially, when you will encounter an organization, especially in local environments, you will see they do not have project management system. They do not have any project management maturity. So then you are a bit more worried, because then you have to not only start a project but to establish those things as well. Exactly. So your organization is going to learn from this project, and maybe in future they will develop a system. They will, start grooming themselves into the project management maturity thing. And anyways, the level of maturity and the systems existing in an organization can greatly impact or influence the project. If systems are in place, organization is mature, the things will run automatically. You don't have to tell everybody that now you use this rule and this document has to come up here. So everything would be ready made. So you just have to follow. You are just part of the moving gears, and things start moving. But if no, then there is a big problem for you. You have to convince everybody for each and everything. When a project involves external entities as part of a joint venture or partnering, as I mentioned, if there are more than one organization, then you are not relaxed, you are more troubled, because as many organizations are influencing your project, they will try to impose their culture, their rules, their mechanism, and their reporting mechanism. and they may be even different. There was a joint venture between Nokia and Siemens in Pakistan, and although both of these organizations were extremely mature, wonderful organizations, they had their own project management systems developed, they had a specific level of maturity achieved. Both of the organizations, even Siemens rather was even better than Nokia. So Nokia Siemens, in under this joint venture, they actually created a synergy out of the whole system. I know it because the person who headed it was known to me earlier as the country manager of NCR and Terradata earlier. Later on, he joined Nokia Siemens, and he managed these differences beautifully. He actually created a kind of synergy. And when I used to teach, I used to give their example that this is a true learning organization. This learning organization concept is in that is the book, the fifth discipline. Fifth discipline by Jeffrey Pinto. Sorry, not Jeffrey Pinto. Peter Sanghi. He explains how an organization moves, develops, and the basic concept is that organization should be so self-sustained that it should groom itself. People should not groom the organization. Organization should become such an efficient living organism by itself that it should have a organizational learning, organization system which is automatically working. And that is a beautiful concept. If you go through this book, that takes you from, the individual personal mastery, then the next level of competency and more over and over again. So he talks about the fifth discipline. So this is the fifth discipline. And this book comes in two different versions. Although it was written back in 70s, but it is so famous, still research is going on this concept. Almost, I have met all the scholars who are working on project management or general management, they know of this guy and they are rather referring him all the time. So this is a wonderful thing. When I started my PhD, I was so impressed with this thing that I went to my dean and I told him, have you read Fifth Discipline? And he was looking at my face. He said, do you know when it was published? It was in 70. We definitely know about it and we are researching on it. There's nothing new about it. But there are so many dimensions on which we are working, and today even when we write a paper or something, there is something coming out of this. So I could see a living example of a learning organization in Nokia Siemens. How, you see, they did have human resource and everything, but the personal development of people in Nokia Siemens was not done by human resource department as such. It was automatic. They had made mechanisms in such a way and automated it completely. So every person knew what he need to have to get promoted. Nobody is advising him, nobody is telling him, but he knows. He needs to have at least 2 local courses and 1 international course of his own choice. The interesting part is of his own choice. If he doesn't do that, he doesn't get the next level. So every year his annual confidential report or whatever is dependent on naturally his work as well as his personal competence development. Now, this is nobody challenges. If anyone says, okay, I want to do PMP and I want to do the course from America, they'll say, okay, you have one foreign course allowed to you. Go ahead, go to America, go anywhere. So you had to do 3 courses. And they used to go to their website, log in on their official website, and there was a shopping cart. So they would say, yes, they would say, if there is a list, there is a course in the list, they can pick and choose, and that is done. Nobody will ask them, nobody will interview them, nobody will question them. they will be delivered the tickets at their home on the date they desire. That's it. No matter how important a project that person is doing. It is the responsibility of the organization to provide replacement or whatever. But a personal development is prime. If he says, I want to go on this course on this date, that course will be confirmed, paid, and his tickets and all arrangements will reach his home. The car will pick him from his home for the airport. That's it. So if that course is not there in the list, he is at liberty to add that course into the list. And the beautiful part, this guy is an IT guy and he is interested in accounting. He says, I want to take accounting course. No problem. You take the accounting course. But once you come back from doing that accounting course, you will not be entertained in IT. You will be shifted to accounting department at a grade lower. Automatically, no permissions, no nothing, no change of form, like that. It will happen automatically. You come back from doing that non-related course and the relevant department will merge you and give you job according to that. But you will lose one promotion. That's something. So that was all in the system. There is no HR guy involved and there is no need to have such a big HR department for Nokia Siemens. There is nothing involved. Everything is online. So the HR people sitting there, probably their only purpose is to provide counseling. I think nothing more is required. They are not doing anything else. So everything was automated. That was a true example. Well, that is just, I'm talking about the professional development. There were a lot of other things also which was part of their culture. And okay, let me tell you a few more things. It is not only the synergy of the two systems, but naturally there was a big element of this Mr. Vakar who was heading that. He was himself a exemplary person. Once I was informed that they wanted to do a PMP course and they wanted to do it in Marriott and Nokia Siemens will take care of everything. I was just asked to come and deliver the course. I went there and it's a big organization. You must understand Nokia Siemens was huge. Mr. Vakar, yeah, exactly. So Mr. Vakar was there. He was there for this course. I mean, just to, he walked through, he didn't come in the class, but he was in Marriott, roaming around inside, meeting people here and there. He did not come to the class. He did not, interfere as, I personally knew him. I just saw him walking around. I said, what is he doing here? So, and they told me that Vakar has made a rule that there will be a ballot every week and out of that ballot, 3 or 4 names will come up, and that does not matter. Any employee could that be? Could that be a sweeper? Could that be a GM or whatever? So those 4 people will have an opportunity to have dinner with Vakar in a 5-star hotel, and they can talk their heart out in front of him. So that is something we even don't do in army. We do lot many things in defense forces which are different from civil, but this was completely out of the world. That he has made it a permanent habit that he will have this session every week. Right now, probably he's heading Jaffer Brothers Systems, JBS. He's CEO of that. I did not have an opportunity to meet him after that. Rather, even before that, more than 17 years I've seen him. But wherever he has gone, he has revolutionized the whole organization. NCR, I still remember when we first met, he was sitting in a broken chair. It was just a normal, small little office, and even less than this office, small little office. And he was heading NCR. And later on, he groomed it in few years into the best organization around. And Terrorata was formed out of it. That was the split. NCR and Terrorata was split. There were two separate country managers for them, and ultimately, it bloomed out of it. So that is the thing which I really want to tell you, that that is the development of systems and maturity in an organization. So that not only comes from these standards, that naturally is the experience of not many people like him who actually groom their people accordingly. Anyways, so this kind of thing will impact such an organization. When their people used to come and come for the PMP course, I was so glad that they already knew almost 70 to 80% of things because they were practicing them in their organization. Similarly, there was one other organization which I was greatly impressed, and that was OMV. Might have heard about it, the oil and gas. OMV is some energy, yes, exactly. So they had their offices, in Islamabad, and they called me once to conduct a course. And there were about 40 people sitting down there, and they're in their own hall. And trust me, when I asked them, do you know what is PMI, what is PMP? They said, no, we don't know. When I started teaching, they knew everything. I said, how is it possible that you have never heard about PMI, you have never heard about PMP, okay? How do you do the project management in your organization? They said, we have our own system. They did not know, but that system was actually designed and tailored exactly according to PMBO. And nobody in the organization knew that they were following PMBO. And everything, they were crystal clear about it. Even the, weakest guy, he was actually practicing it. So that's how the things are. So yes, in Pakistan also, we have such like organizations which are somehow practicing these things. Yes, of course they are. But you see, you don't find these things practiced worldwide so commonly. So if they are multinationals, it's good enough, because it's not only. Do you think that multinationals bring these things from outside somewhere? Sometimes things are developed here. So it's a contribution going from here, because I do recognize and understand that the way it was managed here, lot many things were introduced from here. So it was not only the international, somebody sitting out there making rules and all everything, but it was different for Pakistan. Maybe all of these things they were practicing here, they were not being practiced anywhere else. But anyways, what I really mean to say is that organization matters. Howsoever it is organized, howsoever they are, and the biggest thing is how interested that organization is, how aware that organization is about change. Do they want to change, or they want to resist change? If the majority of the senior executive are resisting the change, then project management will never bloom in that organization. Two odd projects, one here, two there, that kind of thing. But adopting project management as a way to bring change into the organization as a rule, that would never establish. So these organizations will establish it. Okay, when a project involves external entities, naturally both the entities will have their impact. This chapter deals with the correct organizational characteristics, factors and assets within an enterprise they are likely to influence the project. Culture and style, as I discussed earlier, organizations are systematic arrangements of entities, people, department, and the whole organization. My view about it is that, as I referred earlier about crowd mentality, that is an ill-disciplined lot. Each one of those people is not capable enough to do something, but when they get together without any order, they will rush in a direction and crush everything coming in their way. They can even kill people. They can do anything. But they individually, none of them is capable of doing anything like that. So when we talk about, like-minded people working in a specific direction in developing a thought or something. That is where the discipline comes in. That is not crowd mentality. Organizations groom this kind of disciplined approach, and that is how the teams are organized. Team, what you call teamwork or organizational, unity, that comes from this kind of structure. So our organization, our team, whatever the group of people is, the behavior of that organization or whatever the group is would be like a person. An organization is just like a living organism, which is made up of cells, and those cells are people. So this crowd will have its own mentality. Now, in the case of an organization, this is a disciplined mentality. This is a focused mentality. This mentality is going to lead the organization into the direction they want. So we have converted the pessimism to optimism. So this is how organizations work, and therefore this influence of the organization cannot be ignored. Whatever the temperament, whatever the rules, principles, and standard operating procedures are, our governance mechanism is, that is where the organization is going. And naturally, yes, we can change these things. We can change rules, we can change principles, but there is a momentum, and that's why there is a resistance for change. If you are in habit of doing things in a specific manner, and somebody tells you we can do it better, there will be some resistance initially. So an organization's culture and style affect how it conducts its projects, as I referred earlier. Culture and styles may have strong influence on a project's ability to meet its objectives. Culture and style, I would like to refer it to, like you see, you have got international chains here, like McDonald's. Do you see a difference why McDonald's is different than other outlets? Why is it so special? They have a unity of their style and culture and their display outlets. Exactly. When they give the interiors are the same. Exactly. Yes, exactly. When they give franchise, they have certain rules with it. So the all the equipment and all the finishing you see there, actually that is coming from there, and the design is exactly the same what they send, and they install it for you. And then the training and everything, the people behavior, surveying and everything, that is has to be according to their standard. So whatever their culture is, organizational culture or enterprise culture is, they have sent it down here. Now that organization culture or whatever kind of culture that is a foreign culture, right? How does it adjust in here in Pakistan? Even in Saudi Arabia, you have got McDonald's and everything, and it is very popular and working very well. How do they adjust in that culture? Naturally, when they try to merge there, the local influences, like the local influences from Pakistan would be, we need more more chilies and things like that, kebabs and this like things. So although they have got a standardized menu, but they allow the flexibility, yeah, local variations and all that, and ultimately that culture creeps into it, and ultimately it settles down into a way of working. So that would move on in every country. But at the same time, do you find Macarabia here? It is there. They serve it, Macarabia. Why do they serve Macarabia in Pakistan? That is one of the products specifically created for Saudi Arabia, uh, gets very popular, and that if this local culture affects the enterprise culture, and enterprise culture when finds some profits out of it, some yes, they then the organization is learning through Exactly, exactly. From the local cultures, global culture. So this is a living organism. Every organization is a living organism. It learns from its cells. It gives the current downwards and gets some current backwards also. And ultimately, it keeps going. This is what the organization is. That's why I call it a living an organization is a living organism by itself. So that living organism is encompassing the project, and project is under this hydra, and ultimately it has to follow what the culture says. So those culture and the style of working. Style of working. Look at the style of working of your bureaucrats. They like to have independent offices, big offices, well decorated, and that kind of offices, PA and all that. And the interesting thing is, another thing which I observed, when I was also serving there, and one of the persons told me that I want to have a long office. And why? Why do you want to have a long office? And he said, no, my seat should be here and the door should be on the other end. Why? Just because to intimidate the person who is coming to visit him. He will walk, that much distance, and in that he will observe him and all that. So kind of. So we have got, autocratic kind of attitudes. Our bureaucracy is also more autocratic in nature. We do not believe in open doors. If somebody has to visit you, then it's a big thing. Getting appointment from big boss. Uh, then I normally quote one example from army, which is very common there. When we were in Military College of Engineering, every time a new commandant came, after every 2-3 years, commandant changes. He had his own rules. We had about, I think, 4 or 5 gates to the Military College of Engineering. And naturally, their gate, there was specific purpose. This is in gate, this is out gate, that is, exercise area gate or whatever. So whatever the gates are, they had their purpose. And we could enter from anywhere. But every new commandant will make his own rules. He will close on all other doors, only this door will open. That was the time when there was no terrorism or things like that. And nowadays, problem is different. But then it looked very odd to me. What stupid thing! Whenever we go to the college, we don't know which gate is going to be open that day. Sometimes we will get the back door open, sometimes the front door open, sometimes it was complete nonsense. So this is the style we are experiencing here. So what kind of a style should be there? Let's see the example of Telenor. You might have heard about uh, open doors. Then the concept came that there should be cabins, not separate offices, and cabins should have half walls, wooden walls, as if you can stand up and see who is where. That was the main purpose, that you are all in the same floor and you can stand up and see on kidhar hai. And if you want to communicate, then you can talk to that person. Then the time came when walls were completely finished. So in Telenor, when they established their offices here, Pakistan, they came with that culture, and there was no office and no seat for anyone. There was a big hall and lot many places to sit, and no definite space for you. Whomsoever comes, wherever he wants to sit, he sits. Maybe when CEO comes, he sits beside you, no problem at all. So that's how they started off, and that was miraculous because though the service of Telenor was not really very good in the beginning, but their internal mechanism or the internal, the culture was very interesting. People in Telenor were very, very satisfied. They used to laugh with the CEO, talk with the CEO. Everything was open. Everything, they were having meetings right there. Then I also saw culture in what do you call it? Varet? Varet probably. This Wi-Fi business, it is White Right, White Right. White Right. I conducted a training for them, and they said they were all in casual dresses, jeans, banyui, and this and that. What kind of office is it? Everybody is in whatever dress, and you see, they said, "Have you seen our logo?" I said, "Yes." What is it? Just a smiley. I said, blinking smiley and white right now. What does that mean? They said, this is our policy that we have fun at work. We have no limitations. We don't wear suits, we don't wear ties, we wear whatever feels comfortable to us, and we have an open culture. Wonderful. How do you deal with your customers and others, when you go for meeting? Then when we have to meet someone, when there is some meeting or something like that, when we go outside, then we wear ties and suits and everything. But within organization, this is our culture, and that's how we go. Then I had an opportunity of providing a bit of consultancy to White Tribe here in Islamabad. When I went to their offices, they also had the same kind of open office type culture, and visitors were not allowed in the work premises. They were checked. Visitors were checked right at the entrance, and they were made to sit separately in a room. Then they had some meeting rooms, small little meeting rooms, and your person will come down. He will come and sit with you, and if he feels important, he will take you to one of those rooms, and there you can discuss whatever you want to discuss. And then he will promptly get you out of there and get back to the job. So this is how the cultures evolve in nowadays organization. So I've given you the example of various cultures and various work styles, way of working. The one was closed door policy, and other was sitting right with your people all the time and roaming around with it. I was just watching a video today of the Syrian president. He was shown, he just walks out of his house and goes into a mall to something else. He's picking up children, and without any protocol, without any, nobody, people are surprised suddenly he won again, that kind of thing. So that is exactly the kind of culture which is required, and probably, and especially when there is such a threat of terrorism and all that, we have a reason to, create, barriers everywhere. But if somebody can still behave like a human being and still show that you are not threatened, that is a big achievement, because basically it's not the terrorist attack which threatens us. It is the threat of that attack which threatens us more. So we always keep on guard. So there has to be something norming it down, right? So organization are systematic arrangements, as I said, aim to accomplishing a purpose which may involve undertaking project. The purpose is that organization strategy and all that direction, and undertaking projects is why they do it, for bringing the change in that system and enhancing and improving it. For that matter, we call it continuous improvement, continuously improving your organization to the optimum. And I'll talk about the continuous improvement later also. An organizational culture and style affect how it conducts the project. Culture and style may have strong influence on the project's ability to meet its objectives. And that is very important, because if you have got a working culture, then probably you will be tailored and designed in a way that you will work in your project for success. Otherwise, again another example, passport office, when they started, they wanted to start the automated passports, computer generated passports. They wanted that project to start, and they wanted a consultant. They asked me, I gave them some advice, but when they were hiring, I did not go for that. There was a person retired from Air Force. Probably his name was also Suhail. He was hired. And, they used to, on and off, I used to have visit there and see what is happening. So after some time, maybe, 8, 9 months, I passed through that place and I said, okay, let me see what happened because the project had to start. So I went to that Suhail Saab and I asked him, "Kaisa chal raha hai? How the things are happening?" He said, "Project has yet not started." I was completely baffled. Why? Because there was a lot of construction going on. Everything, was being done, and he was sitting in an office with a lot of staff and computers and everything. Things were happening. I said, "What do you mean project has not started?" He said, "The project has not started." Then what are you doing? For last 9 months, these many people and this construction and all that, how is it happening? How are you being paid? From what budget are you being paid? He said, "From project budget." I said, the day you started spending the first penny from your project budget, your project is started. Whether you planned it or not, it doesn't matter. You are spending the project budget. Your project has started. And they said, we had to give the contract to someone and then the project will start. But then his project will start. Your project is already started and you are spending money like anything. And they could not start the project. Ultimately, all the money they spent in construction and all that, and they were building their own offices. All the money they spent, that was typically a wastage. I don't know how they settled it. Similarly, once I was called by National Language Authority, and I had worked with them for on a project before, and they said, okay, we want to have we're having some brainstorming. So we came up with a brainstorming conclusion that they wanted to have a center of excellence for Urdu established. I hope you understand the center of excellence is something which is established normally in universities. And naturally, their main target was to ultimately establish a Urdu university kind of a thing. Although there is a Urdu university, federal government Urdu university also existing, but that was their purpose. The National Language Authority should become a center of excellence and this and that. And this was agreed, and they had influence. They had talked up there with the planning people, and somebody gave them the go ahead. Okay, you go ahead with it. And I was told that we have to create a PC1 and we have to submit it tomorrow. I said, "मैं दिमाग खराब हो गया, मतलब एक दिन में PC1 कैसे बनेगा?" No, जी, please do it, or we will get it approved. Anyways, we worked on it and we developed that PC1, and at least my job was just to give them the PC1, and I gave them the PC1. Next day he called me, and PC1 has been approved. Oh, amazing! How a PC1 can be approved in a day, and how it can be planned in a day. There are many PC1s lying for many years of many departments which they don't deal with. Anyways, so again, they forgot, when the PC1 was approved, they just forgot about me, never called me, and after some time, 6-7 months, I passed through that place and I just visited them, and I asked them, "What about your project?" They said, "The project is going very well; it's almost complete." They had actually decided in the PC1 जो हमने किया था, it was decided that their lawn, if you have seen National Language Authority, they were building on one side and a big lawn on the other side. They decided that the other project, the Center of Excellence project, would be set up there in the lawn, and there will be a huge building coming out of there. I was amazed. There was no building; it was still a lawn, and he says the project is almost complete. How is it possible? I said, "What is? ये आपको दिखाते हैं, आपको दिखाते हैं. कहीं और भी दिखाता हूँ ना आपको कहाँ पे ले गए वो." The existing building में, he just walked me into a door, and then there was a huge auditorium. They converted that space into a huge auditorium. and all the funds of Center of Excellence went into that thing. I don't know how they get these things, adjusted ultimately. I don't know how much money they would have eaten up, but that was that much money that multi-story building was to be constructed, and that went into one auditorium, and that was their project accomplished. तालियां कहानी खत्म. पता नहीं किसको बेवकूफ बनाते हैं, कैसे बनाते हैं, I don't know, but they do. And they in fact get the money approved. I don't know. Yes, of course. And money will only be approved for these suspicious projects only. Any genuine project will never ever get approved. रातों रात आपका मेट्रो बन जाएगा, ठकाठक प्रोजेक्ट बन भी जाएगा, मिल भी जाएगा, शुरू भी हो जाएगा. सस्पिशियस प्रोजेक्ट्स हो जाएंगे, लेकिन जो कोई काम का होगा वो किसी वन इज नो वेयर टू बी सीन. ऐसा गायब करते हैं कि वो मिलता ही नहीं है. Anyways, so ये वो थोड़ा सा I just give you certain examples of that. Cultures and styles are group phenomena. Both of them put together, when we consider them together, there's a group phenomena, and we generally call them cultural norms. Normally, these are our cultural norms. This is all we do. So this includes your culture and your style, way of working. Culture is something which can be imposed and which can be spontaneously developed as well. So when I form an organization, I will inject my values into it. You see, organization values are there. So whatever the values you have determined for your organization, say, honesty, there's customer support, whatever. So those values are injected into your culture, and you desire that this is how your culture should be formulated, because you were the strategic committee was the only people who were actually designing it. But actually, once these things are are implemented and people join your organization, their way of working, their way of thinking influences your system. And then there is a fight between the values and the system. Either people adopt those values if values are strong and culture formulates around it. These are strong organizations. Or people influence the values and values का बेड़ा गर्क हो जाता है, जैसा कि हमारे गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस. Values are nowhere to be seen. Rather, it would be difficult to ask anyone, what are your values? They don't know. Nobody knows. Even they don't know their targets. They don't know. They only know their boss. Boss ने हुक्म दिया है. वो मुझे बार बार याद आ जाती हैं चीजें. जो अभी चेयरमैन है नादरा का, ये इसने जब नया नया ज्वाइन किया नादरा में, तो इसका अंकल होता था ब्रिगेडियर, वो चेयरमैन था. तो ये लड़का सा था, अभी यंगस्टर सा, ही डिडंट हैव एनी, ना कॉन्फिडेंस था ना कुछ था. तो मैं गया हुआ था, तो ही हर्ड अबाउट कि जी मैं आया हुआ हूँ. तो ही वाज क्यूरियस टू मीट मी, केम टू मी एंड ही सेड आई हैव अ चैलेंजिंग प्रोजेक्ट एंड आई वांट योर एडवाइस, हाउ डू यू डू इट. व्हाई मी? बिकॉज जितने भी टेक्निकल डिजाइन था, और जब हमने नादरा फॉर्म किया था, so all the technical designs and all such ideas were developed by our team. तो ये सारे काम जो ये लोग बाद में कर रहे थे, इनके वाइट पेपर्स हमने लिख के पहले से रखे हुए थे, तो उसी को ये लोग यूज कर रहे थे. तो इस वी वांट टू गो फॉर ये क्या कहते हैं, ये जो मोटर व्हीकल रजिस्ट्रेशंस ऑटोमेटेड. सो ये हमें बताएं क्या करें और कैसे करें. मैंने कहा, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल टेल मी, why do you want to go for that? I do believe and I understand that this is required, and I also worked on it. But the thing is, what is your reason for going for it? सोचता रहा. I have been told by chairman that we have to do it. So what? Has he given you some reason, or have you asked him why are we doing it? He said no. फिर छोड़ो, फिर काम क्यों कर रहे हो? जब तुम्हारे इसको इस्तेमाल ही नहीं करना, तो फायदा क्या है इस चीज? तो हमारे यहाँ तो ये वाली है कि बॉस ने कह दिया, अब करना पड़ेगा. ये नहीं सोचना कि क्यों, और जब कह दिया तो जैसे कह दिया वो मेरी बाउंड्री कंस्ट्रेंट बन गया। अब उन्हीं बाउंड्री में करना, टनल भी है ना मेरा, मैंने उसे दाएं और बाएं नहीं देखना कैसे ये चीज एक्सपेंड हो सकती है या उसका कोई फायदा हो सकता है। फायदा किसको पहुंचाना है, कैसे पहुंचाना है, नो, दिस नॉट माय बिजनेस। माय बिजनेस इज टू डू व्हाट माय बॉस सेज। दिस इज क्रिमिनल, ये गलत तरीका है काम करने का। इसी से बेटा गलत होता है सारा। जबकि आई डोंट से दैट प्रोजेक्ट वाज बैड, प्रोजेक्ट वाज वंडरफुल, idea was wonderful, and the project manager or whomsoever, he must be able to align in with the organizational objective. He did not know what the organizational objectives is, where to align, what to align. He only knew that my boss knows, and I bet कि उसके बॉस को भी नहीं पता था कि ये कैसे अलाइन करना है और किधर जाना है। बल्कि मुझे वो याद है कि once I was in an interview and he asked me a very stupid question. क्या उसने पूछा था, वेरी स्टूपिड क्वेश्चन, मतलब कि जी ये नेचुरली वो आपका प्री डिटरमिन्ड फ्रेमवर्क होता है आपके दिमाग में, तो वो कहते जी ये ऐसे और ऐसे, इसमें क्या फर्क है। मैं कहा कोई फर्क नहीं, दोनों एक ही चीज है। तो नहीं जी ये ऐसे नहीं ऐसे होता है। मैं कहा सॉरी, आई डोंट एग्री विद यू, यानी पोंगियां मारे जा रहे हो तुम लोग, ना कुछ पढ़ा लिखा है ना कुछ आता जाता है और अफसर बने फिरते हैं। तो दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम कि हमारे पास ये वाला जो चीज है, स्ट्रेटजी के साथ लिंकेज कैसे बनाना है, इसको कैसे एक्सपैंड कैसे करना है, इसकी अवेयरनेस का होना जरूरी है। एनीवेज जी, तो ये आपके कल्चरल नॉर्म्स हैं और ये मैटर बहुत ज्यादा करते हैं। हो गया। ओके, the norms include a common knowledge regarding how to approach getting work done. This basically, these norms define your approach. How do you get job done in your organization? So whenever you want to do something, what is the accepted norm of getting the job done? Do you have to get permission from someone, or maybe you are self-authorized and you can do it yourself, or whatever the mechanism is? What means are considered acceptable for getting the work done? Who is influential in facilitating the work getting done? And normally in organizations, the person sitting on top might not be the person taking the decisions. The person sitting on top might be, in certain cases, be just a figurehead, and actual decisions are being taken by someone else. Like earlier than him, the previous chairman was Tariq of Nadra, and before that another PPP guy. So that person was just a figurehead. He was just placed by BBP, and he was just the chairman, and he was for ornamental reasons, to meet dignitaries and all that. Otherwise, Tariq was the deputy chairman. He was also political, but he was a little learned person. He was the deputy chairman. All the show internally was run by him, and the chairman itself was just a figurehead. So you have to understand whom to approach for getting the work done. If somebody keeps going to the chairman and telling him, "Sir, please give me permission," तो दे ही नहीं सकता, उसको पता ही नहीं है कुछ किसी बात का। उसने भी उसी को बुलाना है, तारिक को बुलाना है कि हाँ भैया देखो देखो हो सकता है कि नहीं हो सकता। इनकॉम्पिटेंस है ना जी, आता नहीं है एक बंदे को भी काम, तो वो फिर यही करेगा। और इस तरह की इन्वायरमेंट हमारे यहाँ तो बहुत होती है, फौज में खासतौर पर टेक्निकल एरियाज में। नॉर्मली द पर्सन सिटिंग ऑन टॉप इज नॉट बेटर देन यू टेक्निकली, सो ही वुड से यार उन्होंने पूछ जाके मैंने उनको पता, तो दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग। एनीवेज ये नॉर्म्स इस तरह से आपको इफेक्ट करते हैं। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कल्चर इज शेप्ड बाय द कॉमन एक्सपीरियंसेस ऑफ द मेंबर्स ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। पहली बात वो वैल्यूज की मैं बात कर रहा था। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अपनी वैल्यूज सेट करती हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल 3M वाले जो है 3M, 3M value was on one word, and that was innovation. So they said, whatever business we do, we are focused on innovation. Brainstorming करेंगे, सोचेंगे, नए नए मोटे मोटे आइडियाज लाएंगे और करेंगे. And they hold, as a result, they hold the maximum number of patents. स्क्वाश टेप का पेटेंट इनके पास, पोस्ट इट नोट का पेटेंट इसके पास, जो 50,000 चीजें हैं उसका पेटेंट इनके पास. नियत थी, डायरेक्शन था, कल्चर अडॉप्ट हुआ और सारे अब वहां उसी मीटर पे घूमते हैं. पूरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जहां भी उनके लोग होंगे उनका मीटर इनोवेशन पे घूम रहा है. गूगल को देख लीजिए, गूगल ने जिस तरह अपना वो सिस्टम बनाया हुआ है और वो आप टीवी पे और देखते रहते हैं. सो दिस इज द कल्चर, द कल्टिवेटेड कल्चर एंड अडॉप्टेड कल्चर. दोनों चीजें मैटर कर रही है ना. तो लोगों से भी बनता है. लोगों को छोड़ देते हैं, खुला छोड़ दिया गूगल में. उन्होंने कहा जो मर्जी करो, काम करना है काम करो, सोना है सो जाओ. बेड भी रख दिए. उन्होंने कहा जी करो, खाना खाना है खाना भी लगा हुआ है, खेल कूद करने वो भी लगा हुआ है. सो योर ओन टाइम, योर ओन टारगेट, जो मर्जी करो. सो डिफरेंट वेज. तो जिस तरह का कल्चर आप कल्टिवेट करेंगे उस तरह से चीजें होंगी वहां पर. प्रोजेक्ट भी उसी तरह से होंगे ना, लाजमी बात है. Most organizations have developed unique cultures over time by practice and common usage. Common experiences include, but are not limited to, shared vision. इस किताब को पढ़ना पड़ेगा सिर्फ इस लफ्ज को समझने के लिए. Shared vision, mission, values. This is beautiful in that. मतलब इसकी समरी आप कहीं से पढ़ लें तो भी आपको कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर हो जाएगा. The fifth discipline. Okay, shared vision, mission, values, beliefs and expectations. Regulations, policies, methods and procedures. Motivation and reward system. That is again a very important element of your culture. What kind of motivation is acceptable to what kind of people, and how do you reward them? Risk tolerances. Risk tolerances are defined by the organization and the people of the organization. How much can you tolerate? What is your limit beyond which you will break, beyond which you can't bear something? You know, if a fly is bothering me, I'm not really bothered. I'll keep talking to you और उड़ाता रहूंगा साथ साथ. So this is within my tolerance. लेकिन ऐसे इधर कर दिया, इधर कर दिया, ये मेरी tolerance. अब यहाँ पे रश पड़ जाए मक्खियों का, ठीक है जी, तो फिर बात नहीं हो सकेगी. इसका मतलब हमारी हद जो थी उससे बाहर निकल गए, टॉलरेंस से बाहर निकल गए. टॉलरेंस ये होती है कि कहाँ तक आप छोटा मोटा रिस्क खा पी जाते हैं, कोई नहीं, खैर है, मक्खी आ गई कोई बात नहीं. सो क्या चीज मक्खी है आपके लिए और क्या चीज जो है वो कंसर्न है कि यार ये क्या हो गया है, और करना पड़ेगा, बात रुकनी पड़ेगी. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. व्यू ऑफ लीडरशिप, हायरार्की एंड अथॉरिटी रिलेशनशिप. ये वही ओपन डोर, क्लोज डोर, ओपन स्पेसेस वगैरह वगैरह, ये वो चीज. हाउ डू यू रिलेट विद द लीडरशिप, हाउ डू यू व्यू द लीडर. लीडर को देख के आप सतर कामना शुरू कर देते हैं या क्या रिलेशनशिप है, किस तरह से बात करते हैं लीडर्स. कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट क्या है, वर्क एथिक्स और वर्क आवर्स. There was one organization where I went to, this IT organization. I was amazed to see their work ethics. They used to start at 9 o'clock and 8:45 they used to seal their doors. Nobody could enter after 8:45. Now, and they used to open the doors after say 12 or something, and anyone coming, nobody can get in till that time. So anyone coming at that time joining the office, he will have a half day salary for that day. So I asked him, you are working in IT, IT has an open space and flexi hours and all that. Why are you doing that? तो वो फिर पाकिस्तानी कल्चर का प्रॉब्लम आ गया, लोग आते नहीं है, लेट आते हैं, ये करते हैं वो करते हैं. And I truly agree with that also, because here people are like that. I also ran a software house for some time, and it was so difficult controlling those guys. They don't want to work, first of all. They just want to गप शप, वक्त जाया, ये वो काम नहीं करके देना, और वो ultimately they waste time. तो ये उसने अच्छा एक कंट्रोल बनाया कि इस तरह से, but this is not really very nice way of doing it. You should somehow influence your people, motivate your people in such a way that they should be encouraged to work, rather than you should be ऑटोक्रेटिकली डंडा लेके उनके पीछे पीछे घूम रहे हो। तो कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट क्या है, वर्क एथिक्स एंड वर्क आवर्स, ऑपरेटिंग एनवायरनमेंट आपने कैसी दी, कि वही गूगल वाली बात आ जाती है, किस तरह की इन्वायरमेंट आपने दी हुई है, और उससे बहुत ज्यादा फर्क पड़ता है। आप गवर्नमेंट ऑफिस में चले जाए ना जरा, द काइंड ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट यू डोंट लाइक टू वर्क इन दैट, टूटा हुआ दरवाजा, पुलिस स्टेशन में किसी में चले जाए, ये नए जो बने इनकी बात नहीं कर रहा, आप जो आम एक पुलिस स्टेशन है कहीं पर भी, वो टूटा हुआ टेबल, बुरी हालत और बदबू आ रही है, मतलब दिस इज नॉट ऑपरेटिंग एनवायरनमेंट। सो आपको माहौल तो प्रोवाइड करें। आप लेटेस्ट आजकल जो इन्होंने मॉडल पुलिस स्टेशन बनाए हैं वो देखें, मजा आ जाता है बंदे का, दिल करता है थाने जाने को। या फॉर दैट मैटर आप जो मूवीज में देखते हैं उनके जो सेल्स हैं, क्या मजेदार सेल होता है, वो दिल करता है बंदा वहीं जाके रहना शुरू कर दे। सो दैट इज द वे थिंग शुड बी, ऑपरेटिंग एनवायरनमेंट जो है वो मैटर करता है। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कल्चर, एज आई सेड बिफोर, is a part of enterprise environment. It is a factor, it is not a document. Culture is not a document. Culture or style, this is something which is a factor, and this factor comes out of organization, not outside. So this is an internal factor. So amongst various internal and external factors, this is one of the internal factor, and this is part of enterprise environment. Culture and styles are learned and shared. This is also very nice that this is a learnable skill. If you join an organization, over a period of time, you will be like them. You will learn to behave like them ultimately. So it is learnable and it is shareable. नए आने वाले के साथ आप शेयर भी करते हैं. They may have a strong influence on the project's ability to meet its objective. We already said that a project manager should understand the different organizational styles and cultures that may affect a project. Now, as a project manager, when you are starting your project, you should clearly view the organizational practices in culture and style and see how they will impact your project positively or negatively, and how are you going to accept those challenges. If there is a norm which is going to be injurious for the health of your project, then probably you have to avoid that. So you have to design around it. I am not talking about designing the project. वो बाद में आएगा. The first thing is इस culture के अंदर रहते हुए काम कैसे करना है. Culture of a government office. Can you run a successful project? If you have to run it, you have to create a bubble within itself. And I would give you again the example of when we established NADRA. It was very much under Ministry of Interior, under Government of Pakistan, but we created a completely accepted bubble of ourselves without any influence. हद उसकी ये थी कि वो तो उसी तरह बिहेव करते हैं पॉलिटिशियंस और बाकी जितने गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसर्स हैं, उनकी तरफ से जनाब चिटें आती थी जनरल साहब को, चेयरमैन थे हमारे, उनको चिटें आती थी कि इसको रख लो, इसको निकाल दो. अब वो जो टेक्निकल सारा स्टाफ और टेक्निकल जितने चीजें होती थी वो मेरे पास होती थी. तो मैंने जनरल साहब को कहा था, मैंने कहा मेरे को इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं करना, मुझे मेरा काम करने दें इफ यू वांटेड टू सक्सीड. तो ही एग्रीड इन प्रिंसिपल, बट स्टिल प्रेशर आता था तो वो चिट भेज देते थे कि जी इस बंदे को ऐसे रख लो, ये कर लो. तो मैंने कभी वो चिट देखी भी नहीं. मैंने एक श्रेडर रखा होता था, मैं उसमें डाल श्रेडर में डाल दिया. और वो फिर जनरल साहब अभी कभी मूड हुआ, फारिग हुए तो आ जाते थे, कभी मेरे पास बैठ गए, कभी किसी के पास बैठ गए, तो वो चुगल लगा रहता था. एक दिन मेरे पास है, यार मैंने तुम्हें इतनी चिट्ठें भेजी हैं, कुछ किसी का काम कर भी दिया करो. मैंने कहा सर ये श्रेडर पड़ा हुआ है, इसको खोल के देखेंगे आपकी सारी चिट्ठें इसके अंदर, मैंने पढ़ी भी नहीं है. और दूसरी बात, अगर काम करवाना चाहते हैं तो फिर सॉरी मुमकिन नहीं है ये. तो वो फिर उन्होंने उसका अपना एक अलग रास्ता निकाल लिया. उन्होंने कहा जी कि वो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन साइड के जो लोग हैं उनसे ये काम करवा लिया करेंगे, और टेक्निकल साइड को हमने काम नहीं करना. और वही हम आइसोलेट करना चाहते थे, वही बबल हमने प्राइवेसी का एक बिल्ड करना था, वो किया. और उसका फायदा ये हुआ कि अल्टीमेटली वट एवर टूडे नादरा इज, आई बिलीव कि उसकी जो जड़ में ये चीज बड़ी थी वो उसकी स्ट्रेंथ है. वरना लूटने की कोशिश कम की है लोगों ने बाद में आने वालों ने. पीपीपी ने अपना खाबा लगाया, नवाज शरीफ ने अपना खाबा लगाया, हर किसी ने अपना अपना ड्रामा पूरा रखा है, लेकिन रेलवे डूब गई, वो डूब गया, ये डूब गया, नादरा को कुछ नहीं हुआ अभी तक। खा खा के फिर वही वहीं की वहीं है। उसकी वजह सिर्फ यही है कि उसकी जो बुनियादें हैं वो बड़ी स्ट्रांग बनी हुई हैं। ये बाद में आई ये सारी कौम, जितने भी ये अभी मैं जैसे वो बता रहा हूँ कि जो भी करंट चेयरमैन है, ये तो बचा होता था उस जमाने में, तो नया नया उधर ग्रेजुएशन करके आया था। Although all the decisions since then had been political, वो सारे पॉलिटिकल थे। वो पहला वाला हमारे जनरल साहब के बाद जितने लोग आए हैं वो सारे पॉलिटिकल हैं, तो लेकिन फिर भी और ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का एक साख बनी हुई है कि मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंटीरियर भी मुड़ के जा के पूरी मुक्त है जाके डेटाबेस का जो सारा हिसाब किताब जो वहां पड़ा हुआ है। तो एनीवेज, in some cases the person shown on top, की मैंने बात आपसे की थी, of an organization chart may be just a figurehead who is not truly in charge. अब ये देखें, मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ, ये किताब कह रही है, स्टैंडर्ड में लिखा हुआ है, मैंने नहीं ये बातें लिखी, मैं तो आपको एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ उसके साथ। प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर मस्ट नो इंडिविजुअल्स इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आर द डिसीजन मेकर्स एंड वर्क विद देम टू इन्फ्लुएंस द प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेस। इस प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेस को हम बाद में एड्रेस करेंगे, लेकिन मकसद क्या है? प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर वांट्स प्रोजेक्ट टू सक्सीड, so he has to influence the project success, so he has to organize himself in such a way. इस कल्चर में रहते हुए, इस माहौल में रहते हुए मैं प्रोजेक्ट कैसे करूं, कामयाब कैसे करूं, so that is his main focus. ये उसने इस डायरेक्शन में जाना। Moreover, in light of globalization, अगर आपका ऐसा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है which is working with international other organizations, are your organization is spread out internationally, then you have to understand the impact of cultural influences from different areas, and cultural influences, and especially time and space, because when I am working, probably that person is sleeping, so I should not bother him in the middle of the night. So this is also part of what is the local requirements and how you should virtually interact with other departments or which are in other parts of the world. With PMI, we had worked on several projects like that, in which we had people, in OPM 3 standard, second edition, I was the quality lead, and I had about 30 people under me, and all were from different countries. And whenever we had to have a meeting, every week we used to have a meeting. Whenever we had to have a meeting, we had to select the most suitable time for all of them, as if all of them can attend. People were from UK, from India, from Canada, from all over the world. So the formula was the place from where the maximum people are, the time should be most comfortable for them. If a single person is from England, then he can, he can adjust himself, and if he can't, then but we should not disturb the majority. So that's how we used to conduct it, and it was a great success. And not only this project, this is normal norm of PMI. All their such projects happen like that. They have got meetings on weekly or monthly basis, and very short meetings. None of the meetings more than 45 minutes. And this is another thing which I am very particular about. Meetings at Nadra used to go on for hours on end, and sometimes we started in the morning and we finished at 1 a.m. at night, and sometimes आगे को निकल जाता था काम। मैंने उसको ऑब्जर्व ये किया कि हम क्या करते रहते हैं वहां पे बैठ के। The main part was that there were so many project managers. So what we used to do was we used to call all of them at 10 o'clock in the morning. Sorry. We are sitting, we are having tea, lunch, evening. अगले दिन फिर सुबह उन्होंने आके बैठ जाना। एक दिन मुझे ख्याल है कि what the hell are we doing? Who is working in the field? काम कौन कर रहा है? वो टीम बैठी हुई है सब, उनका बॉस इधर बैठा हुआ है, उसको तो मैंने इधर बैठाया हुआ है, तो उधर इधर वो बड़े बड़े प्रॉमिस कर रहा है, सर हो जाएगा सर, कल करके ले आऊंगा, बताएगा कैसे, कराएगा कैसे? तो वो फिर हमने कहा जी ये तो गलत हो गया काम। तो ये था कि जो हमने खुद रियलाइज किया, हमने कहा जी मीटिंग 9 बजे शुरू होगी, 10 बजे खत्म, खलास, जाओ अपना काम करो जाओ। और ये भी ज्यादा है। आप वो स्क्रम वाला जो तरीका एजाइल वाला, दैट सेज 10 मिनट स्टैंड अप मीटिंग, दैट्स इट, खड़े खड़े, बैठना भी नहीं। क्योंकि हम वहां पे ये होते हैं, मैं पॉइंट दे रहा हूँ, आप कहेंगे नहीं जी बहस शुरू कर देंगे। बहस की कोई जगह नहीं है मीटिंग के लिए। मीटिंग में हर बंदे ने अपना अपना एलोकेटेड टाइम के अंदर जो पॉइंट्स हैं वो समराइज करके देंगे, और आखिर में क्वेश्चन आंसर का छोटा सेशन होगा। लंबी बात है, किसी की कोई बहस शुरू होती है, वो देखे तुम रुक जाओ, तुमसे बात करता हूँ मैं, और रेलिवेंट बंदे को साथ रोक लियो, उससे बात करें। बाकियों को क्यों वक्त जाया करते हैं? लाजिम है, मैंने 20 प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर बिठाए हुए हैं, मैटर जो डिस्कस हो रहा है वो दो के काम का है, बाकी 18 जो है वो कोई ऊँग रहा है, कुछ कर रहा है, कोई हमें नखरे नखरे बीच में डाल रहा है, बिला वजह की क्यों बीच में डाल रहा है, क्यों? तो मीटिंग जो है, इन एनी केस, बड़ी से बड़ी मीटिंग कैन एंड इन 45 मिनट्स, और हद हो जाए तो 60 मिनट तक। इस 60 मिनट से ऊपर अगर मीटिंग है तो वो मीटिंग नहीं है, वो कोई और, वो फोकस भी नहीं रहता। और मतलब ये कि वो फिर ड्रामेबाजी है ना। और दूसरी बात ये कि वो कायदे आज़म वाली बात कि जनाब चाय बिस्कुट बस, नथिंग मोर। और जब हम वो ड्रामे शुरू कर देते हैं ना, पूरे खाने मंगाओ, सबवे से आ जाएगा, फलाना आ जाएगा, बस फिर शुरू हो गया काम, फिर वो दूसरी दुकान खुल गई, फिर काम नहीं होगा। एनीवेज जी, अगर हम ग्लोबलाइजेशन में कर रहे हैं तो वी हैव टू कंसिडर द लोकेशन, द कल्चरल वैल्यूज एंड एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम ऑल अदर places. Cultures become a critical factor in defining project success, and multicultural competence becomes critical for the project manager. As a project manager, you should be capable enough to create the synergy. हर तरह के लोग आपको मिलेंगे, different culture, different languages, different organization. Now, how to get work out of them? And this I had experience in with PMI, same project. Uh, I said I have got about 30 people from different countries, and they were volunteers. सबसे मुश्किल काम getting the job done from volunteers, because volunteers are giving their time free of cost. They are not being paid for that. And secondly, their priority is their office job. So we don't want to bother them in their office job, and they can always say, well, I am busy, I can't attend this meeting, bhag mein jao. And I am a lead, I have got 30 people, I have to get this job done. How can I motivate them? I solved that problem. I solved that problem. Magar that was a very difficult thing. So we created an environment. We first, I asked them क्या क्या चीजें आप लोग कर सकते हैं, क्या जानते हैं क्वालिटी के बारे में, मैं खुद भी बहुत ज्यादा नहीं जानता था। देन वी ऑर्गेनाइज अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ, एक दो सेशंस हमने सिर्फ ट्रेनिंग के किए कि जी फलाना काम ऐसे होता है, फलाना ऐसे होता है, फलाना ऐसे होता है। उसके बाद उन्होंने कहा जी आप किसमें पसंद करेंगे। फिर उनकी टीमें बना दी, टीमें बना के उनको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट ऐसे किया कि जो डिफरेंट अदर डिपार्टमेंट समझ लीजिए आप, हर डिपार्टमेंट में एक क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस का सिलेक्टेड गाय और एक क्वालिटी कंट्रोल का सिलेक्टेड गाय वहां भेज दिया, और उनसे परमिशन ली कि ये आपकी कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में बैठेगा। उन्हें कहा कि तुमने बोलना नहीं है वहां जाके, जस्ट टू सी लिस्ट क्या हो रहा है, ताकि यू ब्रिंग बैक होम सम डाटा के, क्योंकि हमें पता ही नहीं था। हमें बाद में क्वालिटी का काम बाद में शुरू हुआ, प्रोजेक्ट पहले शुरू हो चुका था, क्वालिटी का कुछ था ही नहीं सकता, और ना ही हमें पता था कैसे करनी है। तो फर्स्ट वी लर्नड इट फ्रॉम द टीम्स हु वर वर्किंग, एंड दीज पीपल यूज्ड टू कम बैक इन आवर कॉन्फ्रेंस, और वहां पे वो आके फीडबैक देते थे, और वो इंटरेस्ट डेवलप होता गया। हर बंदा अपने अपने एरिया का स्पेशलाइज होता गया, जहां जहां जाता था वो उसका स्पेशलाइज होता गया, तो उसकी से होती थी। फिर उनको देवर आंसरेबल टू द एश्योरेंस वाला एश्योरेंस के बॉस को रिपोर्ट करता था, कंट्रोल वाला कंट्रोल के बॉस को। वो दोनों जो थे वो उनको गाइड करते थे अपना काम कैसे करना है, और उनको मैं गाइड करता था। अब मेरे साथ डिप्टी होता था इंडियन, विवेक होता था। तो और फिर दूसरा हमारा मसला ये था कि हमारी पाकिस्तान में लाइनें नहीं मिलती थी, बात करते करते कड़क करके टूट गया, तो उसको इससे भी बुरा था नेटवर्क। सो उसका भी हमने हल निकाल दिया, और हमने वो चेन ऑफ कमांड बना दी। हमने कहा जी अगर मैं बोलते बोलते भी रुक जाऊं, एजेंडा तो है ना तुम्हारे पास, नेक्स्ट सीरियन गाय टू शुड स्टार्ट फ्रॉम देयर, बट ये एजेंडा पॉइंट पूरे करने हैं। तो कई दफा ऐसा हुआ, मैं बीच में ज्वाइन करता था, दूसरा बंदा कंडक्ट कर रहा होता था, तो बीच में मैं आके सुनना शुरू कर देता था, दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग। तो दैट वाज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, मतलब मेरे लिए तो लर्निंग उसमें बहुत ज्यादा हुई। और हमने जब ये काम कर लिया तो हमारा ये होता था क्योंकि 24 आवर्स कहीं ना कहीं तो दिन है ना, जो ही कोई असाइनमेंट आती थी कि इसका क्वालिटी कंट्रोल या क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस करना है, तो सम ऑफ द गाय वाज सिटिंग समवेयर, वाज अवेक। वो जैसे ही काम होता था वैसे ही हो जाता था, ये इंतजार नहीं करना पड़ता था कि फलाना फलाने को बताएगा, और वो काम आता था और उस टीम का जो भी बंदा जिंदा होता था उस वक्त, वो उसी वक्त करके टक टक करके उसको खुद रख देता था। वो कहते थे तुम करते कब हो तुम लोग काम, मतलब हम इधर से तुम्हें काम भेजते हैं जो तुम करके वापस भेज देते हो। ये होता कैसे है? तो वो फिर हमने उन्हें बताया कि जी ये पैसे लगेंगे ये आपको बताने के। दे वांटेड देयर ऑल डिफरेंट टीम्स टू बी इंटरेक्टिव लाइक दैट। तो मैंने कहा जी हमने ये किया है कि हमने अपनी टीम के दो दो बंदे हर टीम के अंदर डाल दिए, जिसकी वजह से अब वो उन टीमों का हिस्सा बन गए। अब जब वो हमारे पास आते हैं तो वो पूरा नॉलेज लेके आते हैं, और दूसरी बात है कि वो उस टीम का हिस्सा भी है। तो इसका मतलब है कि वो उनके साथ भी उनकी इक्वेशन, लॉयल्टीज, गपशप सारी वो चल रही है। उनका अगर तुम लोग आपस में करना चाहते हो तो तुम भी अपने बंदे कुछ एक्सचेंज करो, उन फिर उनको वापस सर्कुलेट कर लेना कुछ एक आध महीना आगे पीछे करके। क्योंकि ये काम हमने किया था, जब डिजिटल मैपिंग का सिस्टम हमने आर्मी का डेवलप किया, तो उसमें हमें ये प्रॉब्लम था कि हमारे बंदे की पोस्ट ना हो जाए, क्योंकि फौज में तो वो 2 साल हुए नहीं तो पोस्टिंग आ जाती थी। तो हमने कहा कि ये इस चीज को, एक तो हमने उसका केस किया कि इनको ज्यादा रहने दिया जाए। दूसरी बात ये थी कि हमने कहा कि अगर कोई बंदा गायब हो गया तो हमारा तो पूरा सिस्टम बैठ जाएगा, वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड सिस्टम। 8 उसके अंदर सब सिस्टम्स थे। तो हमने क्या किया कि जो हमने सिस्टम्स के इंचार्ज बनाए 8, उनमें से दो दो को बड़ी सिस्टम बना दिया, उन दोनों को दोनों सिस्टम्स की ट्रेनिंग दिलवा दी, वो एक दूसरे की रिप्लेसमेंट बन गए। और इसी तरह उनके नीचे के स्टाफ को भी हमने उसी तरह से ट्रेन किया कि दे कुड वर्क ऑन दिस सिस्टम आल्सो और दैट सिस्टम आल्सो। सो जब कभी कोई बंदे मिस होते थे, कभी पता ही नहीं चला कि कोई बंदा गायब हो गया। और फिर जब ये आदमी जब पोस्ट आउट हुआ तो दूसरा आया, इसने इसको ट्रेन कर दिया, वो फिर साइकिल चलती रही, आज तक चल रहा है सिस्टम इसी तरह से। वो सिस्टम एक चल निकला। सो दैट्स हाउ यू है तो इनोवेशन ना, यू कुड क्रिएट योर ओन वेज। थोड़ी अकल ही इस्तेमाल करनी होती है, बाकी काम तो हो ही जाता है। राइट जी। तो ये तो बातें हो गई कल्चर और स्टाइल की। इसके बाद कम्युनिकेशन। प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट सक्सेस इन एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज हाईली डिपेंडेंट ऑन इफेक्टिव ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कम्युनिकेशन स्टाइल, especially in the face of globalization of the project management profession. Because in the face of globalization आपके communication style भी इंटरनेट पे आ गए हैं, व्हाट्सएप पे हम बातें कर रहे होते हैं। Organizational communication capabilities have great influence on how projects are conducted, because again वही बात कि project is under the organization, whatever kind of capability organization is using for communication, mostly that will be inherited to the project. As a consequence, project manager is in distant locations are able to more effectively communicate with all relevant stakeholders within the organizational structure to facilitate decision making. And this is the basic thing. If you can facilitate decision making delay हो जाए आपकी just because of the distance को उसने उसको नहीं बताया था, फलाने ने ये नहीं किया था। Efficient system which can generate data quickly for decision making. So decision maker तक communication mechanism जो है ऐसा पहुंचे कि उसको prompt decision लेने में आसानी हो। ये चीज हम करना चाहते हैं। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कम्युनिकेशन अगर इतनी अच्छी नहीं भी है तो एटलीस्ट विद इन द स्फीयर ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट वी हैव टू डेवलप सम मैकेनिज्म। जो प्रोजेक्ट की अपनी कम्युनिकेशन है, एटलीस्ट दैट शुड बी इवन मोर एफिशिएंट एंड इफेक्टिव इफ वी वांट टू मीट द प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेस। स्टेकहोल्डर्स एंड प्रोजेक्ट टीम मेंबर्स कैन आल्सो यूज इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कम्युनिकेशन, जो कि आजकल का सिस्टम है, ईमेल, टेक्सटिंग, इंस्टेंट मैसेज, सोशल मीडिया, वीडियो, वेब कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग, अदर फॉर्म्स ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया। बात यह कि ये जितनी भी चीजें हम इस्तेमाल करते हैं इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया, जैसे अभी हम ये भी कर रहे हैं, वी हैव प्रॉब्लम्स एक्चुअली। वी डू नॉट हैव दैट ब्यूटीफुल सिस्टम कि जनाब वो वीडियो शीडियो जबरदस्त जा रही हो, वो बीच में कनेक्शन ब्रेक हो जाए, कभी कुछ हो जाता है, मगर दीज थिंग्स विल इम्प्रूव। आज से कोई 10 साल 15 साल पहले तो हम ये भी नहीं सोच सकते थे कि हम इस तरह से बात कर रहे हो। तो ये चीजें नॉर्म हो जाएंगी। अभी दे आर द कल्चरल नॉर्म्स। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कम्युनिकेशन आपकी तब्दील हो जाएगी ऑल टुगेदर। फिर वो मोबाइल के ऊपर आप चलते चलते बात कर रहे हैं और वो कार्रवाई करने से, अभी ये मोबाइल पे सुन रहे हैं ना, शाह खान मोबाइल पे गाड़ी चलाता सुन रहा है. So this is exactly what.
जी सर, मैं गाड़ी ड्राइव कर रहा था और सर जी गाड़ी ड्राइव कर रहा था और सामने रख के मैं देख भी रहा था, लेकिन दूर था, मोबाइल का स्क्रीन छोटा होता तो मुझे वो राइटिंग नजर नहीं आ रही थी, बाकी आपकी आवाज मुझे आ रही थी, वो भी गाड़ी के स्पीकर पे.
सुन तो सकते, आवाज तो सुन ही सकते हैं ना.
यस सर, यस सर.
तो
नहीं, अभी मैं घर पहुंचा हूँ सर, अभी
अच्छा,
मैं देख रहा हूँ, टैबलेट पे चेक कर
ओके 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 जी. देन इज द ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल स्ट्रक्चर. Organizational structure, definitely this is also part of the enterprise environmental factor, and however your organization is structured, that affects the availability of resources. Because if in your organizational structure a resource is lying down there, how are you going to spare that resource? Who is authorized to spare that resource? What kind of structure is it? Is it a deep down structure, a functional structure, or a matrix structure? So whichever kind of structure it is, that would matter how the resource can be spared and made available for the project work. So it influences how projects are conducted. Natural resource नहीं मिलेगा तो conduct कैसे होगा? Organizational structures range from functional to projectized. So functional is one extreme and projectized is the other extreme. And in between, you also encounter a matrix kind of structure. So if you go in a bit more detail, the matrix can be further subdivided into three types: a weak matrix, a strong matrix, and a balanced matrix. And I'll talk about these क्या structures हैं कैसे हैं. Generally speaking, if you look at, can you see the slide? The table showing all 5 types of organizational structure. This is a summary. It says project manager's authority in functional organization is almost nil. It is the functional manager, his discretion. He gives you resources or not. He helps you out or not. Project manager has absolutely no authority whatsoever. He can beg, but he can't dictate. Because in such an organization, probably projects are not important. Project manager is a useless guy, or it's not even a project manager. We call it a project coordinator. So this coordinator guy is just सर मैं इंतजार कर रहा हूँ, अगर मुझे आप मेरी बात सुन लें, बंदा एक चाहिए. That kind of environment. So he has almost no authority. Weak matrix is very much like a functional organization with a difference that it has matrix line of communication. I hope you understand what a matrix line of communication is. Matrix basically means that rather than having one boss on a person, we can have multiple bosses on the system, on a person. We can have more than one people commanding the same person for different purposes. So, although this looks very controversial, but the basic thing is that if there is a functional manager and there is a project manager has also been given this person and functional manager has also been given this person, then it is a matter of sharing the time. मैं अपना काम दूंगा, वो अपना काम देगा. He will share the time. So we can make
this shared
sharing.
yes sir.
We can
shared resources. This is too much spoken about nowadays, sir.
Exactly.
Due to reducing the costs and overheads and all this. Yes. Shared resource.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this kind of structure would be a matrix structure. But here again we have a problem. Who is more powerful? The functional manager or the project manager? If the functional manager is more powerful, it is called a weak matrix. If the project manager is more powerful, then it is called a strong matrix. We are talking from the perspective of the project manager. So strong matrix. But if you can strike a balance between the two, somehow get the job done, both functional manager and project manager, both can be satisfied somehow, that is called a balanced matrix structure. And the last one is a projectized structure in which project manager is totally in control. He is not answerable to any functional manager. He has got dedicated team. He doesn't have to beg for the team or resources or money. All these things he controls himself. That is a projectized structure. So as far as the autonomy is concerned, project manager dreams of a projectized structure. He wants to work in a projectized structure because then he is in full control. but that is seldom found, very seldom found. Although if somebody asks you what is the ideal structure, that is projectized, but that is almost next to impossible. Because if project in a projectized structure, project manager is above, there is no functional manager. There is no HR department, there is no other department. So how project manager is going to do all the functional duties as well, accounting and pays and salaries and this and that. So you might have seen, I don't know, in army we used to have that. We used to have self-accounting units. Although there is a system which normally organizations within army were governed by that, but sometimes we were at such a remote place that we could not be connected with the army, and we had a self-accounting unit. We had to, make our own arrangements for whatever we were doing. So all the administrative arrangement, all the human resource and this and that, that was, I was independent. So that was a purely projectized structure. So normally when we are on project, I'm from Corps of Engineers. So whenever we were on some kind of project, some remote place, there is a place up there in Fata area, which was called Shilman. That was just on the border of with Afghanistan. So those days the Russians were there, and we had decided to build bunkers there. There were no bunkers existing on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. So on Shilman side, I constructed a number of bunkers, and my team and myself, we were sitting there, completely isolated from the whole wide world. No food, nothing. We had to create everything by ourselves. And interestingly, that was a radioactive area. That was a radioactive area. Radioactive. There was uranium under that thing, and there was they tried to extract it also previously, and it was sealed off. I don't know why, but it was sealed off. But that was radioactive. But anyways, हाँ, there are a lot of minerals in Pakistan. आप क्या बात करते हैं? वो तो हम एक्सप्लोर करना नहीं चाहते. हम नहीं करना. बहुत ज़्यादा था, बहुत ज़्यादा. वहाँ हमें वो स्पेशली बताया जाता था कि जरा थोड़ा एहतियात से चीजें जो थोड़ा बहुत. लेकिन हमने तो खैर ऊपर काम करना था, पहाड़ों के ऊपर चढ़ के करना होता था. लेकिन जो बेस थी जब वहाँ पे होते थे तो वहाँ थोड़ा कोशिश करनी, खासतौर पर उसकी जहाँ से ओपनिंग्स थी, उन्होंने सील की हुई थी लेकिन ओपनिंग्स थी, तो वहाँ से बच बचा के करना. पानी भी थोड़ा सा उनका गड़बड़ किस्म का था. Right. So similarly, you see the project manager authority increases towards the projectized, and in projectized he exercises the full power. Resource availability is also on a similar pattern, because in a functional resource availability is almost none. On the projectized it is almost full. In the first two cases, the functional and weak matrix, the budget is controlled by the functional manager, and the last two cases, in strong matrix and projectized, it is controlled by the project manager. And in a balanced matrix, we will study ultimately that this is somehow we strike a balance, and functional manager and project manager share this somehow. Then the role of project manager in first two cases could be part-time, because essentially he has no authority. But if it is a serious job, then we must be doing either balanced matrix, strong matrix, or a projectized. If it's a serious job, if the project is serious. And project manager, this is important to note, project manager is to be dedicatedly available full time for project. Our project manager can be a project manager at a time for only one project, and he should have dedicated responsibility. He can't be doing some other operational responsibilities or 5 other projects. No, usually in my PMP courses, when I ask somebody, how many projects are you doing? People say, we are managing 35 projects. What nonsense. How can a single person manage 35 projects? So my answer is, you are probably not a project manager then. The person who is managing each one of the projects, जिसको आप शायद सुपरवाइजर कहते हैं, वो बेचारा है प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर. आप तो पता नहीं पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजर है या प्रोग्राम मैनेजर है, आप तो ऐसी चीज है. You are not a project manager at all. Why do you take so much pride in calling yourself a project manager. तो वो एक नॉर्म बना हुआ है लोगों का कि जी बस प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर पता नहीं कोई आला तरीन दर्जा होता है शायद. मतलब मैं आपको बताऊं work with many kind of people. जिस जमाने में हम नादरा में थे, my boss was they were so nice. Even if something uh, is appreciated from anywhere, or top from president or anywhere, बजाय इसके कि वो उसका क्रेडिट वहां खुद लेते, वो हमारा नाम दे देते थे. उन्होंने नहीं सर मैं तो नहीं किया, मेरे बच्चे ने किया, इस तरह कर देते. एंड इंटरेस्टिंगली द नेक्स्ट चेयरमैन which came, जब भी कोई बात होती ना यार ये प्रोजेक्ट दिस इज वेरी गुड, हु वाज द प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर, चेयरमैन यूज्ड टू कम अप, सर आई एम द प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर. पागल का बच्चा, तू प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर है कि चेयरमैन है? सो वो मेंटेलिटी का फर्क थोड़ा सा है, एंड बेसिकली दैट इज द काइंड ऑफ थिंग वी रिक्वायर. सो प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर इज अ डेडिकेटेड रोल, and for serious projects which start from balanced metrics onward, you have to have a full-time project manager and unshared responsibility. Essentially required ये है, लेकिन वो मजबूरी हो तो कभी कभार हम थोड़ा बहुत क्या accommodate कर सकते हैं, लेकिन ये बात लोगों को समझनी होगी कि प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर एक ही प्रोजेक्ट का होता है और वो कुछ और काम नहीं कर सकता. As far as the staff is concerned, staff can be part-time. प्रोजेक्टाइज में आप ये देखें वहां फुल टाइम हो जाता है, स्ट्रॉन्ग में भी किसी हद तक फुल टाइम हो जाता है, क्योंकि वो डेडिकेटेड रिसोर्स में कहीं और को जाना नहीं है, सो वो फिर आप ही के पास रहता है. बट देन प्रोजेक्टाइज में एक और प्रॉब्लम बहुत ज्यादा हो जाता है कि व्हेन यू हैव गॉट डेडिकेटेड रिसोर्सेज, अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम ऑफ दोस रिसोर्सेज आर एक्चुअली बीइंग वेस्टेड, दे आर नॉट ऑल द टाइम वर्किंग. मैट्रिक्स का तो फायदा है ना, यहाँ काम नहीं है तो वहां चला जाएगा, so he can be shared, but in projectized or in functional they are not shared. So वो रोटियां खा रहे हैं, तनख्वाहें कमा रहे हैं, और वो गवर्नमेंट वाला खाता बंद चलना शुरू हो जाता है. So ये जनाब आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल इन्फ्लुएंसेस प्रोजेक्ट के ऊपर हैं स्ट्रक्चर की तरफ से, और मेरा ख्याल है कि we should study these structures tomorrow. यहाँ से आगे हम लोग कर लें. जी शाह खान.
Yes, sir. As per your extensive experience, sir, which is the best structure for a successful project? Since there are competing, sir, things are like in an organization, whether this functional would be good or metrics would be good or the projectized would be good. It all depends on the organization in which the project is being executed. But for the success of the project, which one is the best, sir?
You see, if you look at the situation from the organizational point of view, organizations are more, the lifeblood is operations. So they are in love with a functional organization. Classically speaking, they are not much bothered about projects. So from functional point of view, functional organization is a solution. That is the best operational structure possible. From project point of view, projectized is the best possible solution. But both of these solutions are hypothetical, because if it is a truly functional organization, then it is not change oriented and no projects can be run in that. If it is a purely projectized organization, there is no function. What is the lifeblood then? Projects cannot be the lifeblood of the organization. So both of these are hypothetical. We have to have something in between. If I talk about the three structures of the matrix, even I would say they are also hypothetical, because classically exactly the same pattern you will never find in any organization. What you will find is a composite or hybrid of any combination. But before we can reach the hybrid, first we must understand the classical hypothetical structures.
Yes, sir. Would it be right to say that this is a continuum?
This is a continuum.
From starting from the functional
Exactly.
up to the project side.
Exactly.
And in between it's all analog.
Exactly.
And furthermore, what I wanted to ask was that Is it not the case that an organization is switching from functional towards the projectized and from projectized back to the functional?
Yeah.
Various regimes and various
exactly.
For various projects, at times
Exactly.
they become very big projects and they start to become little bit projectized and then
Exactly.
they start to run operations.
Bilkul.
With that project, whatever has come out of that project, and then when they come.
Exactly. This is exactly the way.
Dynamics.
This is dynamic situation. And if somebody asks you what is the ideal situation, the best possible solution for a project, keeping a blind eye to whatever the functions are happening, then your answer is projectized. Best achievable structure is strong metrics, and doable structure is balanced. Weak metrics and functional, they are bad for project management. Probably you should try to avoid them. The minimum you can settle for is a balanced structure. And the best you can dream for is a projectized structure. And best you can achieve is the strong metrics.
Like SysComp is very oriented probably towards projectized.
Oriented towards projectized,
but they still have certain basic operational things going on.
Exactly.
Like they've just on training centers and all those, which are
like in Nadra, as I was telling you, we designed it as a projectized, but ultimately it formed into an organization, a proper organization. And recently, what they did was the project directorate we formed that was working so efficiently that they separated it and registered it as a separate private limited company, right? And they eliminated it from the organizational structure. And then they dedicated it only for the international projects. My argument is, well, what about their own organizational change now? Who is doing those projects? So they are missing that item now. So वो थोड़ी सोच और अकल की जरूरत होती है ना, करने को तो वो फैसले हुकूमती फैसले होते हैं ना, तो जो भी कुछ चेयरमैन होगा उसने अपनी मारी होगी अकल जो थोड़ी बहुत इधर उधर से आती है। फिर कंसल्टेंट भी बड़े बड़े प्यारे आते हैं ना, मतलब वो जो भी जरा थोड़ी ज्यादा अंग्रेजी बोलेगा तो ये लोग फटाफट इम्प्रेस हो जाते हैं। उससे आगे वो खार गोरा बोल रहा हो, सर गोरों को तो आप गोरे का तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है? दे आर ऑफ एवरेज इंटेलिजेंस। हमारा जो एवरेज बंदा होता है ना पाकिस्तान का, वो उनकी हाई वाले के साथ जाके मैच करता है। उनका जो एवरेज होता है वो खोता होता है। तो उधर गोरा आ जाए, उसकी ग्रीन आंखें हो, बाल उसके जो ब्लॉन्ड हो, तो हम तो फिदाई हो जाते हैं उसके ऊपर। वो तो जो कहता है वही कुछ करते हैं। अरब को देखें, वो तो लेट ही जाता है उसके साथ। तो हमारी भी यही बीमारी है कि वो गोरा होकर को गोरी आ जाती है, बहुत ज्यादा परेशानी हो जाती है। जी जगह
इंटरेस्टिंग सर।
चलिए जी, फिर लेट्स कॉल इट अ डे। तो कल मिलते हैं फिर इंशाल्लाह।
थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू जी, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
ओके।